Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Draft and Drive podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with my sister, Alexia. We are siblings who are NASCAR enthusiasts, and today we are going over the races for O'Reilly and Cup at Phoenix Raceway. Starting off in the O'Reilly series, we got Taylor Gray started on pole. Sammy Smith won stage 2. Jesse Love won stage 3. And there wasn't much interesting happening in either of those two stages. In stage 3 with 35 to go, Anthony Alfredo turns down onto LeVar Scott. Later on, we got Brandon Jones turns down onto William Sawalich. Both crash with Taylor Gray. On the next restart, Jesse Love takes the lead. Justin Allgaier tracks him down, passes him with 10 laps to go, and Justin Allgaier goes on to win the race after Jesse Love dominated, leading 114 laps. Comes up second in the end. My good surprise of the race was actually I had two. I had Roger Carruth driving not the 88, driving in a Jordan Anderson racing car, came in 8th place. I thought that was very impressive. Jordan Anderson actually had a great day because Jeb Burton, I believe, also got a top 10. My other good surprise was Jeremy Clements. Would have had a top 10, but I believe with like last lap or two to go, he got moved out of the way by Sammy Smith. He wound up finishing 11th place. You know, O'Reilly, longtime mainstay, Jeremy Clements, almost a top 10 on a, not drafting track or anything like that, just driving it up there. I thought that was very impressive. Who was your good surprise?
So my good surprise, I also had Roger Carruth. I thought it was impressive that he got in a Jordan Anderson car and got 8th place. And then my other good surprise was Sam Mayer. He started in the back and drove his way to the front early and then finished the day getting 5th place. Going into my bad surprise, I had Austin Hill. He's just kind of missing in action all day. I didn't see much about him, and I thought he'd be more of a factor at Phoenix. And yeah, Jesse Love was out there dominating in the RCR car, and he thought maybe his teammate should have similar equipment. No, Austin Hill, where are you? Didn't see him all day.
He was one of my bad surprises. My other one that I had, it was William Byron, because it was kind of the same exact story. You expect William Byron to be up front, dominating in a Hendrick Motorsports car, even if it is O'Reilly. Finished 13th, quiet day, but I think everyone kind of expected it a little bit more for him. Going back to our race picks, my race pick for Phoenix was Jesse Love. He got 2nd place. Who did you pick again?
I had Justin Allgaier, so I'm so far 2 for 4 in the season picking race winners. I had Austin Hill the first week, and now Justin Allgaier this week, so yeah, I'm 2 for 4 in the season. Pretty good picks by us, getting 1 and 2, and Jesse Love, you could say, had the dominant car all race. But going into Las Vegas next week, I think that Taylor Gray is going to win. I think he's due. I think he's in good equipment, and I think he's the guy to beat going into Vegas. What about you?
Well, with Vegas next weekend, I believe last year Justin Allgaier won there for the first time in his career. But I'm going to say Jesse Love continues his strong start to the year, and he wins Las Vegas. I'm ready to move to Cup if you're ready.
Alright, so going into Cup, Alex Bowman had vertigo, and so the reserve driver for Hendrick Motorsports, Anthony Alfredo, was going to jump in the 48 car. So going into the weekend, Logano got the pole for the race at Phoenix. Larson started 2nd place. In the first stage, Kyle Larson dropped quick, and he ended up getting 13th in the first stage. Stage 1 winner, Ryan Blaney. And let's go into some of the cautions. Kyle Busch blew a tire, and SVG spun, which brought out a caution. There was a caution with Daniel Suarez, Chase Elliott, Ryan Preece, and Josh Berry. Another caution that Noah Gragson got in the wall that also involved Zilich, William Byron, and Michael McDowell. Stage 2 winner, Christopher Bell. Another caution involving Ryan Preece. The big crash of the day, huge impact for Austin Cindric that killed his day. Also involved Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, Anthony Alfredo, and Joey Logano. It all started with a bad push from Joey Logano to Ross Chastain. Another caution where SVG spun. Another caution that took out Joey Logano, Josh Berry, Daniel Suarez. Austin Dillon had a tire went down. Another caution that involved John Hunter Nemechek, Austin Dillon, and Zane Smith. And then Ryan Blaney won the race, which capped off a perfect weekend for Penske winning both poles for IndyCar and Cup, and then both getting the dubs for IndyCar and Cup. Perfect weekend for Penske going into their 60th anniversary.
Yep. Let's see. My good surprise of the race was... Actually, I had a few. I had number one was Ty Gibbs.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a lot of noise surrounding him the past couple weeks. And, in a position to win, did kind of fumble it away. However, still top 5 at a track that will be in the chase.
Mm-hmm.
So, very good for him. Eric Jones in legacy equipment, not very great equipment, picks up 10th place. Good showing for him. And then SVG, guy spins twice. I believe probably had tire issues both times. This is never really, explicitly said, but spins twice, finishes 11th place. I thought that was very impressive, especially on an oval. Obviously, everyone's like, oh, when's he going to get good at ovals? I think we're just about there. I mean, he's not dominating, he's not leading, but he's, better than a lot of the people I think we see at ovals.
Mm-hmm.
Who was your good surprise?
My good surprise was, I had Ty Gibbs as well, and then also it was Anthony Alfredo. So he went down a lap early, and then he made back up the lap, and then I kind of think everyone kind of expected him to get, 30th place, maybe 20th place or higher, but he was running in the top 10 when the crash happened that took him out of the race. I think that was an excellent day for Anthony Alfredo, jumping in a Cup Series car. He doesn't have a ton of experience, and especially driving for Hendrick Motorsports, but I think it was a great day for him up until the crash, and I would have liked to see where he would have finished out if he didn't get into that crash. There's a lot of speculation about who's going to be driving the 48 car in the next couple of years, and I think Anthony Alfredo could, if he... just hope the crash doesn't take away from him. Not to say that Alex Bowman doesn't deserve the ride, but this kind of shows, hey, Hendrick's got top equipment, and you throw this reserve driver that you have, been your reserve driver now for a couple of years, he can go out and prove himself.
Definitely making a case for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My bad surprise of the race. I had only one. Joey Logano caused the 2 big crashes of the day, including taking out 1, his teammate, and 2, a quasi-teammate in Josh Berry. 2 big crashes caused. Austin Cindric's great day, up in smoke, partially airborne. Guy was a weapon on the racetrack. And who was your bad surprise?
I had Ross Chastain. I thought he would have been more a factor throughout the day. Obviously, he got taken out in that wreck, and he wasn't out of the race, but he was a couple laps. I don't know if he was a lap down or not, but he had some damage otherwise. But I just thought he would have been more of a factor in the race. He's generally pretty good at Phoenix, and he was with the squirrels back there in the mess. And then if he wasn't back there and was up where I thought he should be, he might have avoided it. So, yeah, just thought Ross Chastain would have been a little better, especially since SVG obviously had a well enough car to keep driving through the field. So, he had a decent day yesterday.
Yeah.
So going to next week, last week I had Christopher Bell, who was my pick. He got 2nd. And then you had Denny Hamlin, who got 5th place, and we both picked Josh Berry for our 36th for 36th, and he got 32nd place, getting involved in the wreck. Which means I pick first next week for Las Vegas, and I think that Kyle Larson is going to one of his best tracks, and he will finally he'll get his first win of the season, and then end that drought of being winless now for, 10 months? 9 months? 10 months? Who's your pick?
I am going to pick his teammate, Chase Elliott. I think he's actually doing really well in the point standings. I was surprised because I didn't feel like he was running that well. I don't know, this last race he ran pretty garbage, but I think Chase Elliott gets it done. I believe he's pretty good at Las Vegas. I think he gets it done. And who was your 36 for 36?
I'm not 100% on mine yet. I'm struggling still with this one. I'm right now going with Kyle Busch, but he has me nervous. He is just shooting him. Not necessarily his fault, but it's just bad luck after bad luck after bad luck, which you could say with a bunch of these people. Connor Zilch, bunch of bad luck. Chase Briscoe, a bunch of bad luck. Austin Cindric, a bunch of bad luck. But Kyle Busch is also on that unlucky streak, and His luck has to turn at some point, but I'm just a little nervous about picking him next week in Vegas. But who's your 36 for 36?
I'll just say, when you see Kyle Busch on the screen, generally it's because he's involved in some incident. It's hasn't been for anything good. My 36 for 36, I believe I'm going to go with Ryan Preece. I believe he's pretty good at Las Vegas. Obviously, he's already got a win this year in the Clash, not a points-paying event, but I think Ryan Preece gets it done. RFK looking a little bit better than I think they did last year. Now, scrolling into our off topics, I figured we could start with the lawsuit update, if that's good with you.
Yep, I'm good. Whenever you're ready.
All right. Let me stretch a bit. Ugh. Let's see. It came out this week that Joe Gibbs Racing hired a private investigator to follow Chris Gabehart to see him and Spire Motorsports owner Jeff Dickerson driving to lunch together. Later on, Joe Gibbs Racing president Dave Alpern was in a meeting with Chris Gabehart and asked him, point blank, about his plans for employment with Spire. Gabehart admits that he and Jeff did go to lunch, and that Gabehart's wife flew on the Spire plane to Phoenix Raceway in November, but says they're just friends and they did not talk about employment at all. And then also something that surprised me is that both Denny Hamlin and Front Row Motorsports owner Bob Jenkins made declarations in support of JGR. Hamlin's was a surprise to me because, obviously he and Gabehart were very, their success is intertwined. I don't think you'll have as much success as they've had without the other one. But he says the material that Gabehart took, saying it as a statement of fact, not saying the stuff he might have taken. So that leads me to believe that maybe Joe Gibbs Racing has some sort of concrete evidence, besides just the accusations they've got that maybe they haven't said just yet. But he says that the stuff that he took is valuable and any rival team would want them. And Jenkins' statement basically thinks that the employees should abide by their confidential agreements with teams they have because the next gen is so close. Change one thing and then you could be going from first to 20th. Let's see. Joe Gibbs Racing also has proof that two sponsors, I don't know how to pronounce this one, Zepp and Saya. What's the Ty Gibbs sponsor? How do you say that?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Don't put me on the spot like that. It was those two folks.
I don't know either. Well, he was a sponsor, I believe, for Phoenix. Either way, Spire tried to get both of them to a meeting potentially about sponsoring Spire cars instead. And this is going along with rumors that already have been circulating about Monster, a current Joe Gibbs Racing sponsor, and also a current 2311 sponsor with Riley Herbst, and a former sponsor of Tyler Reddick, potentially making a deal with Hocevar to sponsor them. They've got 2 cars they sponsor right now. They did have 3, so maybe looking to fill some sort of opening there. I believe that is about all the NASCAR news this week. Just besides post-race, Ty Gibbs' interview where he says that he thinks he has the right people on his team and that they believe in him. Mm-hmm. Pretty obvious shot to former, whatever he was, competition director Chris Gabehart, because of all the stuff that's happened this week. And that seems to be all from the lawsuit side of things, at least in terms of new news this week. You got any off-track stuff worth bringing up?
So, Cletus McFarland. This was a big debate. Cletus McFarland signed with Richard Childress Racing to drive 3 O'Reilly Series races this season. His first race will be at Rockingham, but it'll be at Rockingham as long as he gets the approval after he runs a test at Rockingham. There's obviously some controversy to this. People think that he is being moved up too quickly. Hasn't run necessarily great in the ARCA, and then his truck series debut obviously was pretty quick after crashing after, 6 or 7 laps. So I'll ask you, do you think Cletus McFarland is being moved up through the ranks too quickly? Do you think that him running in the O'Reilly Series is good for this? Not necessarily good for the sport, but do you think it's okay? Do you think that it is, because he is an influencer, do you think he's getting special treatment per se to run this series? And do you think that's okay?
Yes, I do think he's getting special treatment. He's been okay in the ARCA series. One truck start with 6 laps, I do not think is good enough to get you an O'Reilly ride. Well, I shouldn't say no, a ride, but allow you to run the series. I think him being in the sport is a very good thing, but I think he should have to put in a bit more starts and have a bit more success at, I mean, at least ARCA, you know, much let alone trucks. It's tough because he is good for the sport. He's good to be there. He's a good face. I mean, I believe they put he has the in-car camera and you can see it on YouTube. The views every race, the live views, they speak for themselves. They're significantly more than anybody else would get. But yeah, I think he is going to need a little bit more time. I think the approval system needs an overhaul. What are you thinking?
I agree. I think he's great for the sport, and I think that he brings a ton of new eyes to. They might be watching his onboard, but just to the sport in general. You know, his followers are loyal and they want to watch him succeed, and so they tune into these live streams and watching him race. But at the same time, we don't want to necessarily move someone up too quickly because then that can cause accidents and uh being not ready to take on maybe the O'Reilly car and cause a crash. Like, we don't want people to get hurt, right? Like, that's what it really was at the end of the day, you know? A spin is one thing, but you don't want to be someone's lack of experience causing a big crash that makes someone get injured and does all these things. So, again, it's kind of, there's pros and cons. But yeah, I think he should probably have run a couple more ARCA races or a couple more Truck Series starts before he was allowed to run into the O'Reilly Series. And again, he still has to get approval after running the test at Rockingham, and I believe he swiped the wall when he did the truck test at Rockingham, so obviously they must be a little lenient in their approval process for letting him still run trucks, but who knows? I didn't see any replay of that, so I don't know how hard of a hit it was, but I just heard he hit the wall. Um, Going forward, the documentary released on Prime, um, the dove into Noah Gragson, Kyle Busch, Connor Zilisch, and Brad Keselowski. Noah Gragson talked about his father. Brad Keselowski talked about his journey. Well, after he got injured in his he was at the ski resort, but he wasn't skiing. He fell in a parking lot. But his journey from breaking his leg to being able to race in the Daytona 500. Kyle Busch talked about being known as Rowdy and talked about, his plans for his son down the road. And then Connor Zilisch dove a little bit into his family life and then being a rookie going into the Daytona 500. And then there was some Daytona 500 coverage. I'm not going to dive into anything more than that for the people that haven't seen it yet, but it was a good watch. And I was a little hesitant from the documentary, or I should say it was a docu-series going for Netflix to Prime. I'm kind of surprised it actually didn't happen sooner because with the Prime Sports deal. But yeah, I thought Prime did really well. I thought their coverage and their diving into people's personal lives and then their coverage of the Daytona 500 was really well, talked about, and people were opening up, and it just was a really good documentary. It was only 90 minutes, so I think you should check it out. Couple of last things. There was another IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader this weekend. I thought that was good for the sport. You and I talked about it last weekend. We talked about Pato O'Ward, who said that he didn't want IndyCar to be the, second tier of the weekend, but he came back and then said that he takes it back. He actually thinks it was good for both both series. And so that was it for my off-track news. I think you're done as well. So to finish off the podcast, I thought we could talk about 4 drivers that we were impressed with so far this season. They're doing maybe a little bit better than we expected. And then 4 drivers that have been a bit underwhelming and doing maybe a little bit worse than we expected. I can start if you want.
Go for it.
All right, so to start, I have Bubba Wallace. He is having a really strong start to the year. Obviously, 23-11 is, and I feel like his start to the year is kind of getting a little bit overshadowed with Tyler Reddick's success. But he is having an incredible start to the year, his best ever. So he was my first one. After that, I'm going to go to Shane Van Gisbergen. Another incredible start to the year. We obviously think of him and we think of road course success, but he's been doing well on the ovals, did well in the super speedways, and he's right now in the top 10 in points. Another one, Michael McDowell. I thought he's having also another decent start to the season. Obviously, he was pretty close to winning the Daytona 500, but got taken out in that last lap wreck. But he's kind of surprising because I always kind of thought he was one of the Spire's cars that wasn't performing necessarily as well as I thought he would be, especially, with Carson Hocevar. Carson Hocevar draws the eyes. Everyone watches him. Everyone's seeing, how is Spire doing? Look at Carson Hocevar. So I think Michael McDowell kind of gets overshadowed for Spire, but he's having a strong start to the season. Also same with Daniel Suarez as well. He strong start to the season. Obviously got caught in a wreck yesterday, but he was running in the top 10 and probably would have gotten himself a top 10 finish. And then I just kind of wanted to finish out with Colleague Racing. Colleague Racing has no support really right now, and AJ Allmendinger and Ty Dillon, they're in the teens, and Ty Dillon I think is 21st in points, but it's a lot better than I thought they would be with no support right now from Chevrolet. So, who are your good drivers so far this year?
Well, we had two of the same. I had also SVG has had several good finishes, but several times he's crashed during the race or spun or whatever, had some sort of incident, and he's climbed back up again, which is very impressive. I also had Suarez as well because he has had a lot of raw speed, hasn't finished phenomenally, but the cars have had speed, and he's done pretty well. My other one of one was obviously Tyler Reddick. I feel like I can't not talk about. Obviously has 3 wins and a top 10 to start the year, going from no wins last year. Has been very good and 3 different types of tracks, which is very, very impressive. And then also my one is another kind of, you wouldn't necessarily be surprised with, but Ryan Blaney has been competitive at every single track. I would say probably besides Atlanta, but he's been very competitive, has been the only person who you really see just has the ability to just climb through the field. If he had maybe a better pit crew who could keep the wheels on it, we were talking about, him being a real threat to win the title this year. And then I guess I can transition into 4 people who I'm a little concerned with going forward. And all 4 of them, it's kind of just they just keep being involved in accidents is really what's happening. They just have not caught any breaks. And I wouldn't even say they're probably running all right. I mean, Josh Berry, I haven't really seen run that phenomenally, so he's probably the one that I would say is I'm a little more concerned about him because I haven't really seen them even run that well. But the other 3 are Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, and Connor Zilic. Obviously, Zilic has been involved in numerous accidents and incidents over the past 2 weeks. Had a lot of speed at Circuit of the Americas, and got spun twice. Austin Cindric was having a great weekend this weekend. Circuit of the Americas, I think he was pretty garbage, but he also got spun there. And then both the drafting tracks, Daytona and Atlanta, involved in some sort of incident. And then Chase Briscoe has had speed. I think he had speed last week. Had speed at Circuit of the Americas before he had his issue. I think he did whatever transactional or something like that. But just if they can keep it clean, maybe they'll put themselves in good positions. What are your 4 that you are concerned with?
So I had them as well, but I had kind of them in a separate... I put them together in my underwhelming, but I had them in a separate category, all 4 together, as just unlucky breaks. But I had 3 more people, but one of them's kind of grouped. So I had Legacy Motor Club. I thought that they were really kind of gaining throughout the year last year. It was slowly but surely, but I thought they were gaining throughout the year last year. And right now, Nemechek and Jones are in the 20s in points. Jones, I think, is 28th. I just thought, obviously there's some bad luck there too, but I just thought that they would be, continuing to gain and continuing to go up. And I know Jimmy Johnson, has put some money in this team, and they've done an overhaul with personnel. I believe they did last year. So I just kind of expected them to keep improving, but they've just been kind of underwhelming to start the year. And my last one was Ross Chastain. More bad luck for him kind of as well, but he's right now 23rd in the points I have him as, and I just, SVG is up there. Obviously, Connorsville is just having a tough start to the year, but you always expect Ross Chastain to be 16th or higher in points, and I honestly think 16th is low for him. And so seeing Ross Chastain in 23rd place is just kind of like, whoa, Ross Chastain is in 23rd place? Like, why? So I expect that he should be moving up through the field, but he's got to get some better finishes, and like I said, he's been caught up in a couple things. I didn't think he was that strong of a car yesterday at Phoenix, so we'll see. He should be moving up, but so should, you would expect Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, and Connor Zilch to be moving up too, and if people move up, other people gotta move down, so we'll see.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
That is it for me. So, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with our breakdown of Las Vegas. And subscribe if you're new. Bye-bye.